Namaste and welcome to Passages in Pranayama. My name is John, and my normal Friday morning post on just anything that's kind of random. Usually, I stick to the Eastern philosophy, but not limited to. Right? If you had checked out my post from last week where we went through Black Alicia's song, and very valuable information in that. And hopefully you'll get a lot of good information out of today's reading as well. This is from the Spanda Karika. The Spanda Karika is more or less kind of commentary on the Shiva Sutra. This comes from the Shaiva philosophy. So outside of the Orthodox school, still somewhat based on the Vedas, but yeah, a bit of a departure. A lot of the same language, of course, is used from those initial teachings from the Vedas. And this comes from section 3, the 7th passage. This is a great translation, has excellent commentary. That kind of helps guide you through some of the, I'm very much like a Yoga Sutra, Vedanta kind of, wannabe scholar. But this is a great book. This is wonderful. And again, the commentators really help guide you through the larger meaning of what Shaivism is all about, and in the context of Spanda, what the importance of that is. Maybe we should discuss that real quick. So the Spanda Karika is more or less passage, but Spanda means like movement, dynamism, pulsation. Right? It's kind of like a rhythmic vibration of the universe, we'll say. It is more specific about like a God's movement towards a thing that causes action, causes things to unfold. And the reverse is true as well. So when we look at things from a very bhakti, devotional perspective, then it is about the aspirant, their movement towards their chosen deity or God or nature or whatever you want to call it. Okay, but this comes from chapter 3 or section 3, the 7th verse. All right, so here we are. Okay, just as all knowability body occurs when it is pervaded by that Spanda principle, even so, when the yogi is established in her essential self, she will have omniscience everywhere. Okay, so this is actually it's a theme that is repeated throughout all the Orthodox schools, somewhat over and over again. The language always being a little bit different here and there. The principle is that if we look at it in terms of Patanjali's yoga from the Yoga Sutra, we're removing ignorance from the mind, and we're getting down to our, as it states here, our essential self, right? The essence of our being, the truest part of ourself. In Vedanta, we call it the Atman, right? The true self, or kind of like the knower. If we look at the passage, right? All this knowledge, like what is the knowledge that we're seeking here? It isn't going to be anything like that's going to help. Well, it will help solve your everyday problems, right? Sure, it's not going to, maybe help you over plumbing issue the other day. To maybe help you, and I'm not a plumber, right? I tinker around with plumbing, but I had some plumbing issues, and it's like, all right, let me reason my way through this and help myself kind of like figure it out. So to acquiring from, the house of academia, but more about going deep within, looking for the source of your being, right? The source of your existence, if you will, and drawing upon the knowledge that's contained within. So you know, it isn't having the knowledge of learning how to fix this drain pipe. It is, having the kind of wherewithal of like deducing what needs to be done to, fix a problem, any problem, not a problem, but any problem, or discover any knowledge. Right? This is akin to that statement. Is math, something you can learn, or is it something that you discover? Right, and it's the same kind of knowledge. Right, and sometimes I'll make the distinction between knowledge and wisdom. Right, knowledge is something that you gain by reading books, and wisdom is something that is revealed to you through going in. So this omniscience isn't necessarily, an ability to know all things. We should be careful of that, that's for sure, because we become arrogant if so. And arrogance only gets in the way of the omniscience we're trying to acquire from going deep within. But instead, we end up learning. Let's look at one of the words of Spanda, one of the translations we might use for the word Spanda, and that is like rhythm, right, or pulsation. We learn how to fit into the rhythm of nature, the rhythm of things, and because we learn how to fit into it, new knowledge is revealed. So there's not a desire to know absolutely, but instead our ability to be okay with unknowns that will allow us to achieve the knowable. So, turning to politics, because this is just like, I don't know, at 4 days before the election, 2020, whenever you might read this or watch this, there isn't a lot to know about the two candidates for president, right? And we could go down the line. Lines get blurred. There's no doubt about that. You have one hand, you have a candidate that is stating over and over that this is an election about character. Whoever you're voting for, I care, but I'm trying to not care all that much. You know what I'm saying? But we get a hit from somebody based on their character. We should not judge, but we do get an immediate hit of knowing who they are based on how they act and behave. A lot is revealed to us by their mannerisms, right? Their movements, their gestures, their speech, not just the words that they're using. Although, of course, that can reveal a lot as well. So, oftentimes, knowing, right from wrong is actually a lot easier. It doesn't have to be so muddled. The mind, on the other hand, wants to confuse things. It wants to, well, he said this, but, he also said this. So, it was kind of distasteful, but, he made up for it, right? He took his words back or whatever. But, when you know, you know, right? When you kind of break things down to its smallest components, then it's easy to see right from wrong. And there is no confusion, right? Because the mind again wants to confuse. The essence of the self knows. The mind will doubt and guess. All right. So I will return to the Spanda Karika. There's no doubt about that. There's great passages in the Spanda Karika as well as the Shiva Sutra. So we'll look to its source material as well. So Spanda, of course, is about this like kind of pulsation, this dynamism, this expansion of the universe, right, of our consciousness. So I'm going to reflect that in our pranayama today. And very simple, right? It's very simple work that we're doing today, but really useful, especially in terms of the physical practice if you are a hatha yoga practitioner. But also it helps us kind of like access in a solely respiratory sense. It helps us access, more of our lungs than we typically breathe into. So this is simple diaphragmatic breathing. And if you can, I want you to first place your hands around your lower ribs, right? And just learn to breathe into your hands. Right, so I got my hands kind of cupped around my ribs. And you can see the rise and fall of my elbows, the expansion of my hands outwards. Right, as I take the inhale, and then the subsequent movement inwards, my hands drawing inwards as I exhale. So the only thing that we're doing here is learning diaphragmatic breath. A lot of times we breathe below the diaphragm. There's benefits to both. I'm not going to say that one is preferred over the other. If you're familiar with your bandhas, right? They're very, I think the term would be fungible, but I might be wrong about that. Right? That is our ability to access a variety of movements and techniques to improve the current situation. Right, so kind of calling on all of your abilities. So even though diaphragmatic breathing can be very useful in promoting respiratory health, it's also very useful to breathe from your belly. It's also kind of useful to breathe, into the back of your body to land. So diaphragmatic breathing, though, right, and we can pretty much start and end our pranayama exercise simply by doing this. Uddiyana bandha, right? Those belly muscles. Little engagement there is going to prevent the belly from just kind of, dropping out, and it's going to move everything into the diaphragm. We can also very consciously engage and disengage or control disengagement of the diaphragm. And you want to imagine the diaphragm kind of like this dome, right? And as it contracts, air into your lungs, right? And then as you exhale, it relaxes, it pushes the dome pushes back up into the lungs and it evacuates breath. All right, so we can consciously activate the diaphragm, controlled on the exhale as well. But you might just want to start here. And I think I will kind of start and end it with maybe 5 repetitions. Let's take our hands again to our lower ribs. And like I said, we're just going to take 5 repetitions. It's a great place to start. Those of you out there that are familiar with pranayama practice, this is a great lead-in for a lot of practitioners. So, your mom, your dad, your cousins, you might want them to be more healthful in life. Ask them to start breathing better. All right, and this could be a good start. So, hands up by your ribs, 5 deep breaths, breathing into your hands. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Set your hands to your lap. You can close your eyes if you like, as we just take a few moments of turning our attention inward. So concentrate and avoid any distractions. Focus on your breath. Move to an exhale. Deep inhale, shoulders rise. And out through your mouth, exhale. Shoulders back and down. All right. Well, thanks so much for joining me today. Enjoy your day, whatever day it might be. Okay. We'll see you next time around. Peace.